Hey everyone, it's Dave, and I'm going to give you the instructions for the Early Civilizations paper that is due. This is part 3 of our project, our third and final part. Part 1 was building the bibliography, getting the sources gathered first. Part 2 was the artwork, and then part 3 is the paper itself, the written portion. And I'm going to go ahead and just kind of go over the instructions. Again, please download and read them. They have been on Moodle for a couple of weeks now, and I just want to highlight some of the most important parts that you want to be aware of so that you get as many points as possible. So let me move my video to the side here, and I'm going to go through and read the instructions to you. Of course, you should be downloading these and reading these just in case I missed something in this video. You're to write a 3 to 4 page research paper in the form of a letter to a friend or family member. The reason I do the prompt and I change it up a bit every semester is that it's a little bit easier to write a paper going like, "Dear so-and-so, here's what I'm going to write about," instead of trying to create this academic intro to a really dry paper. I want it to be fun and interesting, and I think that's very attainable when you have a prompt such as write a letter. In the letter, of course, the first paragraph is the most important. It sets the mood. So think creatively, definitely date the letter and address the person you are speaking to. Explain to them your interest in this civilization, which is, it should be your interest because you're going to be doing research on this civilization, and it's boring to do research in areas that you're not interested in. Definitely focus your paper on one particular form of art. I kind of discuss this a lot in the bibliography. Make sure to focus it on painting or sculpture or architecture, and even more so, focus it on a couple of particular works rather than trying to attack the entire topic, because unfortunately you only have a 3-page paper to write, and I'm cool with it being 3 pages. You don't have to push it to 4 at all, but definitely don't turn in something that's 2 pages and a couple lines either. 3 full pages is what I'm looking for because I'm trying to fulfill the GE writing requirements for this class. Once you've picked a particular form of art you're going to write about, do research. Tell me what the object was used for, how it was created. You can talk about the medium itself. How does it fit into the fabric of the civilization of which it comes? And was it used during a specific time period? If Egypt artwork is what you're covering, you're going to say, hey, this is an Old Kingdom work or a New Kingdom work. In Greece and Rome, you're going to be talking more of classical, Hellenistic, archaic, geometric, and so forth. It's always good to include terms that you learned over the semester. If you're talking about Greek sculptures, you should probably use the term contrapposto. But you could also use that in an Egyptian paper where you can say that the Egyptians don't use contrapposto, and that's why their sculpture looks so different than the Greeks, that it's more rigid and unmoving, more solid. So definitely use terms like that if you're comfortable with them and know the use of them. In art history, we compare and contrast to help build our case for an artwork. And you can do so within the culture itself or compare and contrast with artwork outside that culture. Again, though, keep it very limited and very focused. So we have worked on this earlier in the semester with I think it was quiz 2, with the Gudea sculpture versus the Khafre sculpture. And I wanted to do that worksheet to give you some ideas of how we compare and contrast as art historians, and the size of the sculpture itself and the material it's made out of, the uses of the sculpture, and so on. And of course, make sure you've done further research on the time period, civilization, and medium than the textbook offers. As far as sources go, we've already chosen the sources. You do have a minimum of 4 academic level sources. You can end up using more. You can end up using different ones than the ones you chose for your bibliography if you do come across better sources, and that's fine. One note, though, also on sources is that, and research in general, is that while this is a research paper, your voice should be prevalent. It should be the most important part of this paper. It's just like watching a detective or a murder mystery show on TV. And it's the idea that whoever solves the case names the murderer or the person who committed the crime and then backs up his or her statement with the motive and the means and the opportunity. And so that's exactly what we want to do with research writing. We make statements and then we support those statements with research. You know, you might say fresco painting was so intricate and so detailed, and then you can go through and bring up some of your research that shows this. So it's really important that your voice is heard rather than you just globbing research onto your paper and citing it. And it needs to flow. And that's one of the ways to think about this project, is by making a statement and supporting it. The grading matrix I have for you is broken down into 4 sections, each worth 25 points. Appropriately present and organize information is the first. Analyze, evaluate, interpret information is the second. The third, I think, is really important as well. Spelling, grammar, flow, appropriate length of paper, and then correct use of citations. All of those are graded equally, and I will tell you about the correct use of citations in a later video, and some information I'll put on Moodle for you as well. In the paper, the format should be in the upper left-hand corner. Your name, ARTH3, Early Civilizations paper is what I want. Skip 2 lines. Do not title your paper. Just start writing. Give it a date. Address it to whoever you're addressing it to, and then start writing. It should be, again, 3 to 4 pages in length. Do not do 5. Don't do 5. But also don't do like 2 or 2.5. Make sure it's 3 full pages. It should be typed, double-spaced. Again, make sure it's double-spaced, not space and a half or triple space or whatever. That's real easy to identify, so make sure it is set to double space. 1-inch margins are not required, but they're suggested. I think the default on Word is 1.25 inches. I'm cool with that. Just don't do, 2 or 3, inch margins, because I get papers that are like, you don't even want to see some of the papers I get. Use a standard font. Times or Times New Roman is great. 12-point font. Chicago style citations, because this is a humanities class and that's the style that we use. Please proofread your paper. Proofreading is extremely important, not only for you but for me too, because I can get through the papers quicker and you get better grades and everyone's happier that way. You should write your paper well before it's due. When I get these quizzes in, I can't even tell. I'll tell you, a quarter of the class turns it in 11 p.m. on Sunday night. And, that's not the best. That to me means that, they're doing everything last minute. And some of them I can definitely tell it was just pieced together. But what you should be doing is writing every night, whether it's for half an hour or a full hour. Get some ideas down on paper, start to piece it together, and by the end of 7 days, you probably have a 5-page paper, and then you just go back and edit, and you become the paper becomes a little bit more smooth and becomes more polished. And that's really what you want in academic writing. It takes time to write well. Make sure it's in a Word file, or you transfer whatever file system you've written into a PDF. Either of those are acceptable. Some helpful hints on writing. When you and I talk, we can talk about something being legit, and that's cool. But when we're writing, it has to be legitimate. The word artwork is one word. It's not 2. When you talk about a work of art, that's the way it should be talked about. It is a work of art or artwork. Never say a piece of art. The reason is because piece denotes a fraction. And so if you ask for a piece of cake, you get a wedge-shaped fraction of that cake. We don't want fractional artwork. So we always call it a work of art. Sometimes I have students write, this is a great piece of work. That just doesn't make any sense. So again, it's work of art. If you list, and you should, titles of artworks that, for instance, you're comparing and contrasting, those should be italicized. And do not talk about your level of knowledge or expertise. And I don't mean not to try to advance yourself or to reach for some of those more difficult terms, but don't throw terms in there just because you think I'm going to be impressed by them. I'm not. I want your common language, your level of knowledge expressed in your paper. And if you throw out a term, for instance, architectonic, you should know a good amount of what that word means. Don't just throw it in there because you heard it somewhere or you read it somewhere and thought it was cool. You want your paper to flow just like a conversation flows, like you're having coffee with someone. And the point value here is 100 points. It is due Sunday, July 16th. There can't really be any extensions on the project. This is a really quick semester. It's 8 weeks. This is due at the end of week 6, which means I basically have a week and a half to get nearly 100 papers back to you. And that's 300 pages of me reading and giving feedback. So it's real important you get this in as soon as you can. And definitely by Sunday night, July 16th. With that, if you have any questions, feel free to email me, and I'll see you on the next video.